Hello, Coach Holmes here, and today, as far as getting ready for the EOC, we're going to talk about factoring. Factoring polynomials where we have more than 3 terms. In most cases, we're just going to focus on the x squared as far as being the leading coefficient or the leading term when it comes to factoring. So here's the first example. Imagine if you have an x squared up front. Okay, just a regular x squared. It's just, we imagine it to be 1. The simplest way to factor an x squared, with other terms of course, is by making a little box right here. So the top number, that's going to be my product, and that's basically more my constant. That's my constant number, which is without the x. That's the number without the x. So that's negative 15. Next number is my sum, and that's going to be the x term. Whatever the x is, the coefficient of x, that's going to be my sum. In this case, is positive 2. So what I got to do is I got to come up with two numbers that gives me both the product of negative 15, but at the same time, the sum of 2. So this is developing a little bit of number sense. So here's what we can do. I can think of products of 15, like 1 and 15, and 3 and 5. And by the way, we may even have to make up negative numbers. One of them may have to be negative. Now, there's nothing adding or subtracting between 1 and 15 that can get me a 2. But with 3 and 5, what I can do is I can have a positive 5 and a negative 3, because 5 minus 3 gives me a positive 2. But think about this. What's the product of 5 and negative 3? Negative 15. So once I determine my two numbers, I put an x in front with the proper sign. So like x plus 5, x minus 3. And I just got to look for something that matches it. So here's an x plus 5, x minus 3. So my first answer is going to be B. So if I have an x out in front, I'm going to actually go ahead and say, I'm going to take this factoring box, okay, if it's just a regular x squared. Now, here's what makes it a little bit tricky. What if we have a number in front of the x squared? What we could possibly do is actually do what we call FOIL method. Which, if you guys don't recall, FOIL is the first term times itself, the outer term times itself, the inner term, and the last term multiplied to each other. Basically, not to itself, but to each other. So here's what I mean. So imagine if I look at A. And what we want to do is I want to FOIL each of these to figure out if it matches this expression. So here's an example. So let's look at A. So the first term is the x and the 3x, which gives me 3x squared. Now I want to stop right there, because notice that the 3x squared is not the same as 4x. So I can just go ahead and get rid of this. Now I don't know if it's prime yet. Okay, I don't know for sure. Okay, but this is going to be my answer if these two do not work out. So let's look at C real quick. And what I'm trying to do, if I FOIL this, it should hopefully match up. So for example, my first term is x and 4x, which gives me 4x squared. Now I want to do my outside term, which is the x and the 2, which gives me plus 2x. My inner term is negative 12x. And my last term is a negative 6, because negative 3 times 2 gives me a negative 6. Now, all I gotta do is combine like terms, which is these two right here. So I'm gonna say 4x squared minus 10x minus 6. Guess what? This matches with this. Since these two match, I don't have to worry about D because it's gonna work out either way. So I can just ignore D and make my answer choice C. Because again, they match. I don't have to go any further. I don't have to check D, basically. And then lastly, which expression is equivalent to x squared minus 64? Now, here's what we mean. Imagine this is a perfect square, which it is, by the way. A squared minus b squared is actually going to equal to x minus a and x, wait, here we go, my fault, not x, a minus b and a plus b. So a minus b times a plus b. That's what we're going to get. Okay? So one's going to be a positive, b is going to be positive, b is going to be negative. But the a is going to stay positive. So in this case, the x is my a, and the 64 is b squared. Let me start over real quick, just to clarify, because I feel like that was a little bit confusing. So the x squared is a squared. 64 is b squared. But if I square root both of these, x is going to be a, and 8 is going to be b. So all I have to do is replace a with x and replace 8 with b. So all I gotta look for is x minus 8, x plus 8, which is this one right here. So hopefully, as long as you remember this being a squared minus a square, factoring it is just a minus b times a plus b. And you just gotta figure out what a and b are. So factoring is not too tough because there's different ways of knowing it. Sometimes it's just knowing the formula for it. Sometimes it's just doing the FOIL method to figure out, FOIL method from the answer choices, just to figure out if the expression matches. Or just simply doing a factoring box. Hopefully that will work out. Hopefully you get a better understanding of this. So good luck, let's get to work. Take care.